Hello, everyone. If you've decided to join along with us, 1 second as we check our situations. Are we live anywhere, Dustin?
We are live
On YouTube.
on YouTube.
Sweet. Are we live on the Facebook? We are live on the Facebook, as they so eloquently call it. And we're also live on Periscope. Okay, let's start this show, baby. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, we don't have any fancy themes like College Game Day, so it's a long story. I tried to put something together, but this thing cost a little bit of money. So, Dustin, week one, we are here. This is the Ladder We're Live. I'm Mike Settle. That is Dustin Franklin. It's good to be with everyone. Obviously, I'm in a different location. I'm in the state of Florida. I normally live in the state of South Carolina. Jesus Christ, I can't even get my states right. I'm excited, Dustin. I'm just a little nervous is all. Week one is finally here. It's a big moment. We've been building up to this for weeks and weeks, and we finally get to actually talk about some real football. Now, we've had some games before this, but this is buffet. So, Dustin, just real quick, overall thoughts on being excited about week one, man.
Oh, man, it was awesome. I left work at 12 o'clock on Thursday in preparation going to the Tennessee game, which I can see Neyland Stadium from my office, so it's not like I really had to do that. But I was just that excited about it. And the slate of games didn't disappoint. Even back before Thursday when we had the games that we talked about last week, it's just a great week of action.
Yeah, man. I mean, real quick, since you mentioned that, obviously, before we get into this week's games, we're going to talk a little bit about the games we've already had. Obviously, week 0 went underway last Saturday. Not a great slate of games, but games nonetheless. Nebraska lost to Illinois, Dustin. Holy smokes. That was not a good season debut for Scott Frost.
No, and we talked about it last week. I said that this is kind of Scott Frost's prove-it season to me. He needs to come out and make a statement, especially against the first-year head coach at Illinois and Brett Bielema, and Bielema had the last laugh.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's not like Illinois did anything fancy either. They really ran about the same 5 to 6 plays. They were just more consistent. And what's weird is the Nebraska defensive line was great in that game until they couldn't take anymore. They were on the field too much. The offense kept sputtering, weren't producing any yards, weren't producing any points. And the Illinois defense or the Illinois offense just kind of wore down or wore the defense down. So good win by Brett Bielema. That's kind of fun, man. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Brett as a person, but as a coach, I think he's proven his track record. We do this thing with coaches where we remember their worst instead of their best when they fail. And I think people forget he was awesome at Wisconsin, Big Ten titles, Rose Bowls, and he was really good his first 3 seasons at Arkansas as far as building that program back up to respectability after Bobby Petrino ran it into the side of a mountain. So, everyone wants to talk Nebraska. I think the fun story is Illinois. Now, that might be a 3-win football team, but that's one of their wins, and Nebraska's got a long way to go. Adrian Martinez is not a very good college quarterback anymore for some reason.
Yeah, he's not. It's the same inconsistency as has plagued him for his career. I expect he's going to come out and have some great moments this season to where we're like, oh, okay, but then it's going to be the same old Adrian Martinez. But I tell you what, Scott Frost was kind of – I think that had this game been played in its original location, the Huskers would have won. If they were in Ireland, that's a huge home field advantage for the Cornhuskers.
Any game play in Ireland is not good, man. I'm just going to be honest with you. We have a whole lot more Nebraska talk next week because they play a pretty big game that they're probably going to lose by a decent amount of points. We'll save that. Last week, we also saw UCLA drop Hawaii 44-10. I think that's kind of what we expected. Hawaii, not a very good football team right now. UCLA, this looks to be Chip Kelly's best team that he's had there. Now, this is also a show and prove year for Chip Kelly. We're going to get into that when we talk about the game against LSU. But just real quick, I thought the run game was great. Both running backs looked amazing. Brown and I'm sorry, you want to say this name? Charbonnet, whatever.
I believe in you.
The offensive, okay. I'm not even going to try, but the offensive line looked looked really good. Again, this is Hawaii they were playing, so take it with a grain of salt. But they did look better. My one question, and again, we're going to save most of the UCLA talk for the LSU game. My one question is Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Yes.
He didn't impress me as much as I was hoping for. Some inconsistency. Now, he's a great playmaker, and I think maybe just they were very vanilla on offense. They decided not to show and do too much against Hawaii because they wanted to save it for the game against LSU. But I was hoping to see a little bit more as far as passing ability from DTR.
Yeah, and I mean, you said it. He didn't play well at all, but to me, that speaks volumes to how good this UCLA team can be, though, and how good of a
Right,
job Chip Kelly did. Because Dorian Thompson-Robinson was expected to be the stud and the star of that game, and he wasn't. They still won
right.
by a comfortable 34 points. So I think that just shows what the limits of this UCLA team could be. If he plays like we all expect, they could be dangerous.
Absolutely. And real quick, just a side footnote about week 0. HBCUs were on, or the show of that weekend. And I think that North Carolina Central and Alcorn State was a great football game. It was a lot of fun. I feel like there needs to be more consistency with promoting those universities, promoting their football, promoting the culture. And I guess if you're going to use week 0 as a platform, that's a great time to do it. I would throw more at week 0 if I were, but that was just me. Okay, Dustin. So we're moving on. We had the game on Wednesday night. UAB won by $1 billion. We don't have to talk about that. Thursday night was a lot of fun, man. I don't know about you. I know you were at Neyland Stadium, so I guess I do know about you. But for me, I saw the entire Ohio State-Minnesota game. I watched the majority of Boise State UCF. I saw a lot of NC State pound USF into the ground, which is a whole different topic for another day. USF's got a long way to go. Yeah. And I watched a lot of App State and ECU as well, which was a fun game for a while. I think look, that score is lopsided, I know, but I think Mike Houston, especially on the defensive side of the football, really has them go in the right direction. It's just a long road to hoe. But let's go to Minnesota, Twin Cities there. Look, man, that place was awesome. That place was rocking. The uniforms were cool. It was a night game. The atmosphere was fantastic. It's so good to have fans back in the stands. It just makes college football feel more big time. Ohio State gets to win 45-31, but that does not tell the whole story. I actually walked away from this game being more impressed with Minnesota, which I know you were high on. I walked away more impressed with PJ Fleck in Minnesota than I did Ohio State. And that's not a knock on Ohio State. They're a good football team as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I told you last week when we were previewing the games, I said that I don't think that it's going to – I thought it ended up being closer than I thought it was going to be. I thought that Ohio State would pull away more than they did at the end. It was a game for most of that game. That was the game they kept showing during the Tennessee game up on the Jumbotron. They kept giving us live look-ins at the Ohio State-Minnesota game. PJ Fleck had his team ready to play. They showed up in a big way. I thought they were going to pull it off at times, and I feel even better about my pick of them winning the Big Ten West, though.
I think, man, when you look at that schedule, they've got really until that Wisconsin game, every game is winnable. Then you get to Wisconsin game, and that's a really tough game. We'll talk about Wisconsin in a minute, but that's going to be a really fun game, probably in the snow for the Battle Axe. That's going to be awesome. That's way down the line. We got a long way to go. Here's a couple things with Minnesota. I was impressed by their run game. Obviously, Ibrahim is a great player. I think he's in the future NFL back. He never stops his legs. I love the way he plays the game. And they were just a lot of fun. Tanner Morgan's not anything great. He's not, making Heisman Trophy watch lists or anything, but he's consistent and they don't ask him to do a ton, but when they do, he threw the ball pretty well, I thought, especially in the second half where they had to throw the ball. They had no choice. Now, obviously, the scoop and score was the turning point in that game. It's a one-score game. Scoop and score made a big difference. Ended up probably being the reason that Minnesota lost. But a lot of, one more thing about this game. A lot of people in the first half on these, interwebs were downing C.J. Stroud. The second half, he came out gangbusters. He was great. Once he settled in and Ryan Day got the game plan right, I mean, first of all, Ryan Day, great football coach. I think we both agree there. He got C.J. Stroud in a rhythm. They threw the ball deep. My man Olave is somebody I would like the Eagles to draft yesterday. So when that happens, that'll be awesome. So I actually think the Ohio State offense is fine. Still have question marks about the defense. But one more thing. I think we're going to get a rematch of this game, Dustin. I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. I think in Indianapolis we will get a rematch of Ohio State, Minnesota. And that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited about that. So real quick, UCF Boise got like a 3-hour weather delay. Ridiculous. But that's Florida weather for you. But they did play this game. I think me and you were looking for UCF to kind of make a statement in this game. As much as we like Boise, the program, and we think highly of Andy Avalos, I expected UCF to do a little bit more. They did win. They came back and won. But at one point in the first quarter, they're down 21-0 at home. Gus Malzahn's debut. the offense kind of sputters. There's a pick six that goes like 90-something yards the other way. There's just a lot of mistakes I think the offense made. Now, they got it together in the second half. Actually, they got it together at the end of the first half where they scored going in. And then, but a lot of – this was a fun game, especially in the second half. It was just on at like 1 a.m, so if you missed it, you missed it. But good win for Gus Malzahn. But I walked away a little worried about Dylan Gabriel and what they're going to do with that offense.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see the concerns, but I'm going to read back what I said word for word last week. I said UCF should win a fun game. Spread's only 4. I think they cover that and win by a touchdown. Okay, 1 by 5. My bad. I said, but I expect this game to be fun for 4 quarters, and man, was it ever. This game was – I saw it when they were down 21. I was like, oh, man, this isn't what we wanted. But then when the comeback started to mount, it was one of those like, oh, okay. So that's the kind of non-conference matchups that you just love to see, those exciting,
absolutely
fast-paced action games.
I still think that Boise is probably a little better than we thought in the preseason. I thought Hank Bachmeier looked really good, as Florida State fans know all too well. He's back. He looks good. Boise looks good. I think UCF's got some work to do, but if they want to contend with Cincinnati and who I think the other team to beat now is Houston. We're going to get to that in a minute. But okay, so Friday night there was another slate again. Well, real quick on Thursday night, if you just want to touch on it, NC State's good. As a Florida State fan, I am highly concerned about the NC State game. I think they're going to be really good. And Devin Leary didn't even play that. He really didn't play that well for him anyway. And they still won the game 45-0, a shutout against USF. Also, App State beats ECU 33-19. And again, a game that I think was closer than the score actually was. And obviously, the Vols won, got a big win against Bowling Green, the worst team in college football.
Hey, but I do want to say something about that game. We had a bet on it, and I won. That's all.
You did win the bet. barely, but you won the bet. I got you a case of beer tomorrow, buddy. So listen. Also, Scott Loeffler, dude. Bowling Green is a mess. It is an absolute mess. You could tell the uniforms stink. The program's not good. I don't know what's going on there, man. All right. So anyway, Friday night we get North Carolina, Virginia Tech. North Carolina on the road. Man, we talked about this game in detail last week. I gave you my concerns, which I thought were legitimate. I just wanted to see North Carolina show me that they can be consistent with what last year's expectations were and coming into this year. I like Sam Howell. I still think Sam Howell's really, really good. He didn't play well last night at all. He was very inconsistent. I won't completely blame his offensive line because I don't think they played all that bad. But the big question marks I had showed up. They're lacking playmakers, man, or experienced playmakers. Their defense didn't play terrible, but still some problems on the back end. There's a lot of question marks that I think they can still hammer out. The season is not lost if you're a North Carolina fan. It's not over. It's one game. It's a Friday night game on the road against what I probably think is a better Virginia Tech team than we thought coming into the season. Now, I don't want to overreact to one game about Virginia Tech either. It's not like Braxton, golly, I can't ever say his name either, Braxton Burmeister or whatever his name is. He's not that great either. And Burmeister. They did, freaking Heatmeister, Coolmeister, whatever the man's name is from the Santa Claus specials. Listen, he's not very great either, but they didn't ask him to do a whole lot. Good win for Virginia Tech. 17-10 final score, but that game was really wasn't even as close to 17-10 to me. Virginia Tech had a couple chances to run away with it. So just your thoughts on North Carolina, a team I know you were high on, a team I was high on, but there's some big question marks here on this team.
Well, I don't know that I was necessarily high on the team. I'm just very high on Sam Howell, and that doesn't change after one bad outing. I mean,
absolutely
he's 17-32. That's ugly. 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. That's ugly, especially that interception he threw that looked like Jameis just trying to make a play and throw it up. That was a Jameis play. That was a Jameis interception when he was at Florida State. The thing about it is, though, I think this was the least amount of points that a Mac Brown-led North Carolina team has scored since, 1991 or something like that. So, obviously in his first run with the school. But it was ugly. Virginia Tech did what they wanted to do. They were methodical on offense and drained the clock.
Yep.
They kept the ball out of Sam Howell's hands.
Short game.
Short game.
Yeah.
It really prevented the offense from gaining any kind of rhythm. I thought Ty Chandler, he looked good at times. He averaged almost 7 yards a carry. So I still have faith in this North Carolina offense to find it and to be fine. I don't expect Sam Howell to fade into oblivion like he's going to be Sam Howell. It's fine. Yeah. Don't overreact. It's just Enter Sandman, Lane Stadium, a weird 6 o'clock Friday kickoff. There's a lot of factors in that. So hats off to Justin Fuente. I said that he needs to make a statement this season as well.
He did.
I think he did that last night.
These are all the things that I said going into that game that could end up a bad spot for North Carolina. I don't think North Carolina's a bad football team. I think they'll be fine. But I do think a combination of a confluence of events. Virginia Tech needed a big win as a program. Fuente needed a big win as a coach. Friday night, Lane Stadium, Enter Sandman. You're replacing all this talent on offense, and you have a defense that, again, I don't think is that great. And so all those confluence of events ended up in a 17-10 loss. They got a couple chances in the next 3 weeks to right the ship there and get some big wins under their belt. But there's some questions to answer for sure.
Definitely. And, I mean, the biggest deciding factor in last night's game was the time of possession. Virginia Tech had the ball 10 minutes more than North Carolina. That's almost a quarter.
That'll do it.
2/3 of a quarter they had the ball more. So that's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, that defense of Virginia Tech last night looked great. They showed up. That looked like an old lunch pail Bud Foster defense right there. That looked like the defenses we're used to seeing out of Virginia Tech. All right, real quick, a mini Friday night recap, then we can get on to previewing these games. Michigan State beats Northwestern. I don't know what to make of this game, Dustin. 38-21. Is Michigan State good? Is Northwestern bad? Is neither one true? Here's why I asked that. Northwestern was really good last year. Big Ten title game, won their division. Michigan State, we expected a year or two improvement under Mel Tucker. We like Mel Tucker. We think highly of him. He's under the Saban tree. So all that's great. My question is, I don't know what to make of this result because Northwestern lost almost everyone on that Big Ten West winning team last year. Michigan State, man, they ran the hell out of the ball. Their offensive line looks like a different group. Their running backs are good. They got people healthy. My takeaway from this game is I think Michigan State is building back into something that resembles what we know from Michigan State.
Yeah, I mean, last year's Michigan State team, we mentioned that they only won a couple games, and one of them was against Northwestern. So Mel Tucker is now 2-0 against Pat Fitzgerald. So maybe he just has his number. I don't know. That game was one of the biggest head scratchers of the week for me. Because we both picked Northwestern to win that game. Now, we both are high on Mel Tucker and what his defense can do. But the defense was one thing, but they put up 38 points.
Yeah, they look good.
They look good.
They looked good. Yeah. I was going to say, I don't know if Michigan State is good or Northwestern is bad or neither. So there's a lot of those games in the Big Ten this week where I don't know what to make of them. We're going to get to that here in a minute. Real quick, Friday night recap. Hey, I was right. Charlotte, baby, with the win against Duke. David Cutcliffe, you're out of here, pal. This is your last season, man. Charlotte with the win. First win over a Power 5 program since joining the FBS. Good stuff from Will Healy and company, man. Yes, it was late. Could have been fluky. Don't care. Fluke this. Fluke Duke. They won with about 3 minutes. They had a game-winning touchdown with about 3:17 left in the game in the fourth. So, again, good program win. And like I said a million times, that program is going to start coming on the rise, given their location, given their coach. And a win against Duke, whether they're good or bad, is a good way to start.
Yeah. A wise man can admit when he's wrong. My lock of the week last week was Duke -6.5 against Charlotte because they absolutely mollywopped Charlotte last season.
They did.
But how much a season can change things. So, yeah, I'm never going to tell David Cutcliffe to retire. I'm a big David Cutcliffe fan. But if someone else wants to tell him, I won't say no.
Also, I think a group like Charlotte, a real offseason was a huge help for that program. getting everything right. I mean, it's not like Will Healy's been there that long. I think a real offseason without all the COVID interference really helped that team.
And shout out to them for getting their first Power 5 win. I mean, that's as an FBS team, that's awesome.
I said they haven't been an FBS team very long. That's pretty good. Yeah. Real quick, and then we're out of here as far as the recap, and we can start the preview. Dustin, Kansas won a football game. They barely won a football game. South Dakota, I actually would have, if we picked this game last week, would have picked South Dakota to win the game because, quite frankly, South Dakota's a good FCS program. But Kansas 17-14 with a win. First win for Leopold there. Now, that might be their only win because they play Coastal Carolina next week at Coastal. That's not going to be a win for them. They got a long way to go. But, hey, okay, Kansas with a little bit of a win there, man.
Well, I mean, in a few weeks, they've got Duke, so that's going to be an ugly game.
I'm taking
Kansas
Duke.
Versus Duke.
No, I'm taking Duke. No,
yeah,
I'm taking Duke in that game. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Same here. It was a good win for Leopold. I questioned that decision by him. I did not want him to take that job. I thought he was too good of a coach.
Me too.
To walk the plank into Lawrence, Kansas. But hey, shout out to him for getting that W, starting the season off on the high note, because it's going to be ugly from here. But you gotta have some growing pains.
I hated it too because I think that Syracuse job is about to come open, and what he was doing at Buffalo would have worked perfect at Syracuse
or even Duke.
Yeah,
even Duke.
Well, yeah, you'd rather be in the. I would definitely rather be in the Carolinas than be at Kansas. That's for sure.
Yes.
Last thing, my man Adazio, you got to go at Colorado State. It's a wrap for Steve Adazio. Losing to South Dakota State, a good football team, FCS runner-up last year. Good, great program. But 42-23 to an FCS opponent.
It wasn't even that close.
Hey, I would say that last touchdown was late. That Colorado State team is not good, and they have more tough opponents on the schedule. They have a long season ahead. I think this is Steve Adazio's last season out there at Fort Collins.
Yeah, he just needs some guys being dudes. They had 90% capacity in that game, so they had almost a full house, and you treat the fans to a loss. So don't expect much attendance the rest of the ride.
That bugs me so much.
It does.
Because that's a great stadium, the great fan base that cares a lot about their program. They want them to be a Power 5 program, and they're nowhere near it.
Yeah, no. It's disappointing to say the least, but kudos to South Dakota State. Like you said, it's a good program. It's just if you're Adazio, you can't let that happen. You might as well go ahead and start looking on Zillow, buddy, because you're going to be looking for a new house.
I think he's going to be working for the Jacksonville Jaguars here shortly. That's all I'm going to say.
I can see that.
All right, Dustin, that's the review. Great slate of games, but an even better slate of games that start today, Saturday, September 4th, Labor Day weekend. We've got a lot to cover, man, here in the noon slate. So we kind of broke this up as far as, time periods go. So this is the 12-3. So we're going to go in time order of these games and when they take place. So starting at noon, Dustin, 12 o'clock on Fox, big time, big noon game. A game that I am just flabbergasted because I don't know what to make of this game. Penn State at Wisconsin. One thing I know for sure is Camp Randall is going to be loud. They're going to be rowdy. I don't care about the noon kickoff. They're going to be absolutely ecstatic to have football back at Wisconsin with fans. And I think that Penn State at Wisconsin is a really good test for both teams. Kind of judge where the programs are. And we know what Wisconsin is. They're very consistent. They are Wisconsin. But Penn State started out last year really, really rough, got it right at the end of the season. But there's a lot to like about both these teams. Graham Mertz comes back for Wisconsin. He's going to be good. This is a game where James Franklin probably needs the win more than Paul Chryst does.
Yeah, you're right about that, especially off of last year's showing. But the thing is, Wisconsin was 4-3 last season, and Paul Chryst is a dang good coach for Wisconsin. He's won nearly 75% of his games in his tenure there. Graham Mertz, he's a decent quarterback. He completed 60% of his passes last year as a freshman. Penn State, they had a rough start to the season last year. So this is what you're saying James Franklin needs to win. They started 0-5, but they won their last 4 games, and they scored 36 points a game in those last 4, and they returned 9 starters on that offense. So it's going to be a pretty good matchup. The spread on this one is Wisconsin -4. Wisconsin struggled running the ball last season. They only had 200 yards as a team one time last season in 7 games only, and that's very uncharacteristic of a Wisconsin team. Penn State's linebacking core is one of the best in the nation, but Wisconsin's may be even better. So Wisconsin's defense, I think, is going to be the difference here. I like Wisconsin to win and cover the 4.5 in a pretty tight game.
Man, I went back and forth on this game because I think these are two very evenly matched teams. They're not similar as far as gameplay style, recruiting style, coaching style, but they're very similar in the way that they're both right at that next tier of teams in the country where can they make the jump into the top tier? Do they go down? Let's see how they go. I'm with you. I like Wisconsin to not only win but cover this spread. However, I could see Penn State really looking to make a statement if they're capable. If they jump out early to a lead on the road, it's going to be hard. But Noah Cain, the Penn State running back, is back after missing last year. He was one of their better players in 2019, had a great Cotton Bowl against Memphis. He's back, so that'll provide some explosive playmaking ability there. I'm just curious about the program of Penn State. Is this James Franklin's last year, even if it's good? Because there's a job in SoCal that if it doesn't go the right way, it's going to be calling. And I think James Franklin would take that job in a heartbeat. So it's going to be interesting. This game sets up a lot of dominoes to me with no matter. Now, I'm going to take Wisconsin because it's at home. That, to me, kind of covers for that point spread. I like Wisconsin and the Badgers to get the win. Dustin, weird game to have in Dallas here. Stanford at Kansas State. This is kind of a weird Cowboys classic to me. Neither one of these programs are what I would consider a power, but it is a good showcase for both of these teams. I think this is an ugly, low-scoring game. I know what Kansas State is trying to do under Chris Klieman, and I like it. They're trying to be Kansas State, but different enough to where they can kind of modernize what they like to do on offense. Again, low-scoring game. Kansas State is going to play this game with a chip on their shoulder. They're going to play this whole season with one because Oklahoma and Texas said, you guys aren't worth anything. We're leaving this place. And the rest of those Big 12 teams, if they're capable, should play a little inspired ball. They want to – honestly, they're kind of auditioning, Dustin, to be honest, if the Big 12 expansion does not work out. So it's look, they'll get – Deuce Vaughn is one of the best playmakers in the country. He can run. He can catch. He can do all the things you like to see. So I really like Kansas State. My concern with Stanford is, what are you? What's your identity? I know that Austin Jones is a player they like. They kind of want to get back to that ground and pound Stanford game. But does that work for Stanford in 2021? I think the matchup is very interesting. Again, ugly game. I like Kansas State.
Yeah, Kansas State's 2.5-point favorites in this one. Stanford's offensive line is solid, but like you mentioned, what's their identity? Do they have a running back who can step up and fill that Bryce Love role, that Christian McCaffrey role? I don't see it on the roster. The defense side of the ball for Kansas State is young, and they are away, so there may be some opportunity there for Stanford. Stanford's defense returns 8 starters, but they only forced 2 interceptions in all of last season, so it's not like they're going to be able to stop that Kansas State passing attack, especially with a healthy Skylar Thompson back. And you mentioned Deuce Vaughn. I think he's going to have a monster game. I think he's going to be the deciding factor. I think Kansas State's offense is going to be too much. Wildcats roll. They cover the 2.5 easily.
I agree with you on that. Going back to the game we talked about before this one real quick, before we go rapid fire, here's some fun stats about Penn State, Wisconsin that I forgot to mention. Penn State is 4-0 in their last 4 games against Wisconsin. So they're looking to make it 5 straight against the Badgers. Not that really means a ton, but look, the other thing, and I think part of the reason I'm taking Wisconsin, even though this is a different kind of opponent, 25 wins in a row for home openers for the Badgers. So anytime they're at home, 25 wins in a row. The longest streak is actually Florida. I think they have 31. So, but you're probably going to pick them to that streak to break tonight. We'll get to that in a little bit. But, okay, Dustin. So those are the kind of games that we wanted to kind of break down in detail. Let's go ahead and kind of go rapid fire here. Oklahoma at Tulane. Well, it was originally at Tulane. Obviously, Hurricane Ida, kind of prevents Tulane from hosting this game. So it will be in Norman, but they painted the, green wave guy on the field. I don't really think if you played this game on the moon or Mars or the desert, it would matter. I like Oklahoma to roll and cover the spread. And that's not a knock on Tulane. I do think they're a pretty good football team.
Yeah, same. Spread's 26.5 favoring Oklahoma. The Heisman factory is going to strike again. Spencer Rattler is going to show out in a big way. Boomer Sooner to win and cover.
Here's a fun G5 game, at least to me and hopefully to you. Army at Georgia State. It's going to be interesting. It's down there in Atlanta, the old Turner Field that they've renovated into a football stadium. Look, I'm taking a shot in the dark here. I go back and forth on Georgia State. What are they? I actually like Georgia State to win this game, even though I know Army is the more consistent team under Monken.
Yeah, Georgia State's 2.5-point favorites. Army, here's some stats for you. Army is 5-2 against the spread in its last 7 games. Georgia State's 4-1 against the spread in its last 5 games, so something's got to give. Give me Army to win outright.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we have a difference there. I like that. That was our first big difference, right? Yeah, here we go. All right. Okay, I only put this game on here because I love Sam Pittman at Arkansas. Rice at Arkansas. We also have our guy Bloomgren there at Rice. He's a Knoll. I'm pulling for Rice. I hope they at least cover this spread. I don't like them in this spot, though. Give me the Hogs.
Yeah, so the spread's 19.5 in Arkansas's favorite. Rice is 5-2 against the spread in this last 7 games, so that's boding well. Arkansas is 9-3 against the spread in their last 12, though. So 19.5 is just a lot of points. I like Rice to cover, but Arkansas to win.
Okay. Here's a fun game right here. Fresno State at Oregon. Fresno, I know it was UConn, looked great last week, but we were high on Fresno coming into the season anyway, as far as winning the Mountain West. Oregon getting a really tough matchup from the G5 out of the gate. Look, I'm not a big fan of who Oregon went with the quarterback, the Kentucky transfer. I don't think he's a great passer. I like that Fresno State offense. I just think that the way that Oregon wants to play the game, they're going to make it, they're going to kind of grind the clock down, power run game. Their defense is one of the most underrated in the country. Give me the Ducks, but I like Fresno State to cover.
Yeah, it's 20.5 points. Fresno State did look great last week in the win. Shout out to them for shutting out the UConn Huskies, but this Oregon team is not UConn. That's one of the most talented rosters in the nation. I like the Ducks to win and cover.
Don't be surprised, though, and again, no one can watch this game because it's on the freaking Pac-12 network, which is stupid, but don't be surprised if you look at the bottom of the ticker and you see this score is a little close in the third quarter. It would not shock me at all if we're getting into the second half and this game's a little scary for the Ducks. Western Michigan at Michigan. I actually like this Western Michigan team. I think they're a pretty good MAC team. I think they're underrated. They have a chance to win that conference maybe. We'll see. That the MAC conference kind of spin the wheel, make a deal, and then you pick one, and that's who wins the conference. Going to be interesting to see what this Michigan team looks like. They were bad last year. Now we expect them to be a little bit better. Year 3, with this offensive system. Give me Michigan. What's the point spread on that, Dustin?
Michigan comes in as 16.5-point favorites.
I'll take Michigan to cover. Barely.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. Michigan needs a statement win. Harbaugh just signed the contract extension, so it's not like he's going anywhere, but still the perception of him, if he has any pride, it has to bother him. So Western comes into this game 3-7 against the spread in the last 10 road games. Michigan is 0-5 against the spread in its last 5 games, so neither one of these teams traditionally cover. But something's got to give. Give me Michigan big.
Okay, I agree with you. Real quick, you can catch Oklahoma at Tulane at 12 on ABC, Army at Georgia State on ESPNU at 12, Rice at Arkansas, SEC Network Plus, 2 p.m., Fresno State at Oregon, Pac-12 Network. No one gets that, so don't worry about it. Western Michigan at Michigan is the 12. It's a 12 o'clock ESPN game, so everyone gets that. That'll be fun for a little while. Here it is, 12 p.m., SEC Network, Louisiana Monroe at Kentucky. Real quick, I think this Louisiana Monroe program's got a long way to go under Bowden there. But Rich Rodriguez right now is the acting head coach, play caller. Rich Rod's son is the quarterback, which is hilarious to me. But I really am high on this Kentucky team. I think their defense is good. Their offense, they get the transfer from Nebraska wide receiver. He's a dynamic playmaker. I really think Kentucky rolls big in this game.
Okay. Louisiana Monroe is 6-14 against the spread in the last 20. Kentucky is 10-2 against the spread in its last 12 home games. 29.5 points is just a lot of points to me. So I think it's closer than 30 points, but I think Kentucky wins comfortably. So somewhere around 27 points.
I guess that's fair. I'll switch real quick. I'll take Louisiana Monroe to cover, but I still like Kentucky pretty big. I think Kentucky gets a nice statement win here. Okay, here's the next window, 3:30 to 6 o'clock. Alabama, Miami, 3:30, ABC. This is the the Chick-fil-A kickoff game in Atlanta. Look, man, I want to talk about this game a lot. There's a lot to talk about, but let's just be honest. It's Alabama big until somebody shows me different, especially in these neutral site. I don't care who the opponent is. Remove my Florida State allegiance and put anybody there unless it's Clemson or Ohio State. I'm going to take Alabama to win big. Now, there's some interesting things here. They're replacing almost the entire offense. Almost the entire offense as far as playmakers, people that catch touchdowns and score touchdowns. They're replacing almost all that production. I think the defense will be better than it was last year, and it ended up not being terrible in spots. I think they're going to be really, really good this year. They return a lot. I'm just interested to see the offense with Bryce Young and Bill O'Brien. I'm interested to see his play call in there, what kind of system they go with. Is it just ho-hum, same system as Sark, or do they kind of switch it up and go more of a pro set? To me, that's where the interest lies. I don't think the score or the outcome is in doubt. I like Derek King. I think he's a good player. Coming off a torn ACL, it's not as big of an impediment as it used to be. I'm worried about Miami's defense. I know everyone likes their front on its face, but they lost Roche. They need a pass rush. They don't have one, or they don't have anyone coming out of camp that they really like at that spot. Their offensive line is pretty good, but when you're playing Alabama's front seven, it's going to be tough. It doesn't matter how pretty good you are. You're going to have to be great, and I just don't think they're good enough. I like Alabama and the points.
Yeah, it's Bama comes in 19.5-point favorites. Listen, Bama is still Bama. This roster is full of NFL players. The linebacking core alone features, 4 NFL starters in my eyes. So, I mean, that's a tough task for them to face. Derek King is great when he's healthy, but when he's contained in the pocket, that cuts down his effectiveness, and I don't think he's going to be able to run on this Alabama defense.
Exactly.
Bryce Young comes into the game with a lot of pressure on his shoulders. Is he going to step up and carry the torch? I think so. Saban just doesn't miss. Here's some stats for you. Bama hasn't lost a season opener in 20 years. UCLA in 2001 was the last time they lost a season opener. That's a heck of a run. But also, if you take out just the last 9 home openers for Alabama, Bama's won them by an average of 39-13. So this does not bode well for Miami. But Bama wins easily. Give me the Crimson Tide 40-17.
Ooh, I'm not going to throw a score out there. I think there's a point in the second half where you can look and say, this game's a little closer than we thought. But that's what I like to call the Alabama crock pot.
I can't do
crock
it.
Pot.
I can't do it. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Allegiance
is aside. Yeah.
Right. Allegiance, look, I think in the second quarter, maybe going into halftime, this game could be a 10-point game, kind of close. Miami looks like they're hanging around more than they actually are, but you just get that Alabama crock pot where they just slow cook you to death, man. And I think that's kind of what we're going to get here. So I don't know if 40-17 feels a little high for me, but it would not surprise me at all if that ended up being the score. Again, I just don't think that Miami offense is enough for that, has enough firepower to get out and get ahead of that Bama defense.
Well, you said you like Bama in the points. I got them 23 points.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying. I'm curious if Miami scores 17 is kind of my.
Okay. I'm with you. Okay.
Common thing, man. Okay. Here's another Big Ten game that I had no clue where to go with. A lot of fun game. Number 17 versus number 18. Indiana at Iowa on the road there at Kinnick Stadium. This is 3:30 on the Big Ten Network, which most people have, even if they realize they don't, even if they don't know they have it. So it should be a really fun game to kind of counter the Miami-Bama game that I think won't be as good. This game will be kind of slow, kind of plodding, because that's the way that Iowa likes to play football. It's hard to go on the road there and win at Kinnick against a good Iowa team. And I think at the end of last year, this was a good Iowa team. They return a lot of those people. I think, I like Indiana. We like what Tom Allen does. We're really high on Michael Penix, who is back as the quarterback. I think he adds a different dynamic to their offense, which is a lot of fun. His favorite target is back, another last name I cannot pronounce. But he also has Florida State transfer DJ Matthews, who
That's true.
People said they were high on coming out of this fall camp. So there's some dynamic playmakers there. My thing is the Indiana defense, who I think is good. I think eventually they get worn down by this Iowa offense. Close point spread. I like Iowa at home. But this is the first time that Indiana is ranked in the preseason since 1969. So it's been a long time for the Hoosiers. They're good at football. However, the Iowa defense has 22 straight games without surrendering more than 25 points. I think they keep that streak today. Give me the Hawkeyes.
Okay. I mean, and Iowa's defense does return most of their top guys from last season. So, I mean, that's always good when you return a lot of guys, starters and productivity. But Michael Penix is back. Indiana was damn good last season before he got hurt. They were 5-1 with him as a starter. The only loss was a 7-point loss to Ohio State, so you can accept that. The offense just never looked the same without him. They had a 14-6 win over Wisconsin, and then a 26-20 loss to Ole Miss in the bowl game. Indiana's pass rush is going to be solid against the Iowa team. They struggled last season to find consistency through the air. The question mark for me for Indiana is their defensive backs. I don't know what we're going to get there. I was on the fence about this one too. Didn't really know where to go. I like what that Indiana offense can do when they're healthy and humming. So I like IU to win outright.
Okay. All right. Hey, that's good. I tell you what, if they go on the road and Kenny could get a big win in opening weekend, that really shows me that Indiana is here to stay. They're not, some flash in the pan that Tom Allen's really got that thing going. And I do like Indiana. I think it's a very close, very good football game. I just like Iowa at home. That's really the only reason. If this game were, at Indiana, I may feel a little differently, but it's really difficult to go do that.
It is.
Fun game, man. That's, again, the second Big Ten game of the day where I'm like,
yeah,
what do I do here? Good on the Big Ten for putting some of these games early in the season. That's a lot of fun. All right, Dustin. While they're good, they earn the name Louisiana. If they're bad, they'd be Louisiana Lafayette. But since they're good, we're going to call them Louisiana like they like to be called. Louisiana goes on the road at Texas. This game is the 4:30 Fox kick, if I'm not mistaken. So you can catch that after the Penn State-Wisconsin game, if I'm not mistaken. So, look, man, I've gone back and forth on it. I want this to be good. I want this to be fun. We love Billy Napier. Some of us wish that Florida State would have hired Billy Napier. I mean, it depends on what you think.
Yeah.
But he has proof of concept at least. This is a Louisiana team that went on the road to Iowa State last year and beat them. And that's a good Iowa State team that beat Texas. And so the program is exactly what you want. They return a lot of people on that defense that I think is, the defense of that team is really the star to me. Where, they have some good offensive skill weapons. I love what they do on offense. It's unique. It's different. It's exactly what you would want if you're an up-and-coming program. That's the kind of offense you want to run. I just have a hard time thinking that they go on the road at Texas, 100,000 people at DK Royal Stadium is expected, and get the win. Sark in his debut, Hudson Card named the starting quarterback. Boy wonder, here's your chance. You're on a national stage against a ranked team. I know they're Louisiana in their group of 5, but they're a ranked team nonetheless. Hudson Card gets an – look, I mean, you've always said, if the race is close, go the young guy. Don't go the old guy. Go the young guy with a lot of upside. I like Texas to win this game out. I like them to cover the spread. I just hope it's a fun football game because I do think there's a chance that I could be wrong here and Louisiana wins this game.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a chance. You mentioned Billy Napier. I mean, I think he's one of the most promising young coaches in the game. And I like both these coaches of where they're at.
Me too.
Sark was a great hire by Texas. I think taking the time under Nick Saban really helped him, and he knows how to run a successful program now. Levi Lewis for Louisiana, he's going to have that offense humming. He's a great young quarterback. Texas defense has some work to do before they're anything special. So I think that the Louisiana offense could put up some numbers there. Hudson Card, like you mentioned, to me, that's a question mark because you're throwing a young guy out there, but I think I trust Sark to protect him in the game plan. That being said, that means that Robinson for Texas is going to run wild. He's going to get a lot of opportunities. Yes. Louisiana started 2020 with a win against a Big 12 team in Iowa State, but I don't expect them to repeat. I don't expect an encore. Spreads Texas -9. I like Texas by 10, so a tight cover.
I think it's a close game. They cover it just barely because I do respect Louisiana. I think they're a good football team. It's really hard in this spot to go win that game, especially, given the way that, the state of Louisiana kind of is in disarray right now. They've had, they've been displaced for a while. And I hate to put that into a football game outcome, but I mean, it's hard not to. The real world does happen around football. And so I'm very interested to see how they play. Maybe they play inspired by it. I don't know. But in these situations, I'm going to take who the team that has the best player on the field. And to me, that's Texas and Bijan Robinson. He's awesome. I love watching him run. And I think where Texas wins this game is the line of scrimmage. I think their offensive line is better than people thought it was. And I really like them to run for a decent amount against a really good Louisiana defense. So hopefully a good debut for Sark. If not, they're already going to be on his head, man. That is not the way you want to start your tenure losing to Louisiana. Real quick, I put detailed breakdown on this one, but we don't necessarily have to get too far into it. This is a fake rivalry to me, Dustin. I said it, and you could tell them I said it too. West Virginia, Maryland, I am going to give you credit. The uniform that Maryland's wearing for this game is awesome. It's a nod to the old uniforms that look really good, like not these other pieces of crap they wear every other week.
All of Maryland's uniforms look good. What are you talking about?
No. Well, West Virginia's uniforms need a lot of work too, by the way. It's not a very good color scheme for them. But anyway, look, this game's interesting to me because it is technically a rivalry, bordering each other. So that makes it a rivalry somehow. But this is the first time they played since 2015. Mike Locksley, he's had a bumpy ride at Maryland so far. As far as the coaches on these two sidelines, I love Neil Brown. I think he's going to do as much as you can possibly do at West Virginia. We loved him at Troy. He would have been a good hire at Louisville, you idiots. You hired the wrong guy. Stupid. God. Anyway, but I like what he does on defense. This West Virginia defense is completely underrated. I think they're really good. They get after your you-know-what. Maryland, inconsistent on both sides of the ball. So I'm very curious to see what Baby Tua, or he has an actual real name, I'll let you say it, but Tua's little brother, I'm curious to see, can he remain consistent throughout this game? I'm very, very curious to see what the offense does. I like West Virginia to win this game. I think they keep it kind of close. I think, Maryland doesn't put up a lot of points. I like West Virginia and Neil Brown. Honestly, it's a coin flip to me because I think they're kind of two programs that are in the same place, and I'm going to take the coach I like more, and I like Neil Brown.
I like Mike Locksley, but
I do too.
Anyway, yeah. So West Virginia's defense, you mentioned them. They ranked 4th in the nation last year in total D. That is not something you expect out of a Big 12 defense. And when they lost last year, when West Virginia lost, it was against teams that have a balanced attack. Maryland's passing game is going to be above average with Talia Tagovailoa, but what will the run game provide? So Maryland was 2-3 last season, and when they won, that offense was humming against Minnesota and Penn State, two decent programs. But when they lost, it was the offense that just couldn't get anything going against Northwestern, Indiana, and Rutgers. So I don't think that this is a great formula for Mike Locksley's team. So West Virginia is favored by 3 points. I like West Virginia to win and cover just because I think that the offense is too inconsistent so far. Prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. I like what Maryland does sometimes. Just I'm taking the Mountaineers.
There's just zero consistency on both sides of the ball since Locksley took over. I know he had a little bit of a reclamation project, but at the same time, I think it's time to kind of show and prove what you've been doing there. I'll forgive last season because of the pandemic, but I think it's time for Locksley and them to kind of show what they're there for, and that's to compete for Big Ten East titles, which they're not in that echelon right now. All right, Dustin, some rapid fire stuff. Here's some fun games, man. Miami of Ohio at Cincinnati, fun G5 game. Miami of Ohio better than people think. I like Cincinnati to win and cover, though. I really like that Cincinnati team. They return a lot of people. Love the quarterback. Love what Luke Fickell does. Give me the Bearcats to cover. This is 3:30 ESPN Plus.
Yeah, Cincinnati's 23-point favorites. Listen, Miami of Ohio, I hate that we have to call them that. They're the real Miami. Let's quit playing ourselves.
Oh, here we go.
Miami does have the rare quarterback by committee that works. They rotate 2 quarterbacks in and out, and they do it effectively. And they return 10 starters on defense. However, Desmond Ridder and that Bearcats offense is going to be too big, too much. Give me Cincy big.
I like it. Marshall at Navy. Look, there's a lot of Marshall hype in this preseason. Some of it I'm not really understanding, I guess because people think it's a turnkey program. But I'll call it as a good football coach. I don't think I want to take that away. He's not there anymore. But look, when Navy has a quarterback that can actually throw the ball downfield, I really like Navy. Right now, doesn't seem like they have that. So I'm going to take Marshall on the road, 3:30 CBS Sports Network.
Yeah, Marshall comes in 3-point favorites. Their defense was number 1 in the nation last year in scoring defense, so that's impressive. New head coach Charles Huff inherits a lot of talent on that team. I think he starts his tenure off with a win and a cover.
I like it. Louisiana Tech at Mississippi State. Fun game. Louisiana Tech's won this game before. They've beaten other SEC teams in the past. I have some question marks about this Skip Holtz team, though. I'm wondering, are they ever going to modernize their offense? Because it's starting to kind of, nose face thing that, that nose face expression everybody uses. I can't ever get right, but that's what they're doing there at Louisiana Tech. Their defense is good. I actually really like year 2 under Mike Leach at Mississippi State. I think last year was a little bit of an anomaly, kind of getting the air raid going there. I really like this. I think by season's end, you're going to look up and say, well, Mississippi State's not a bad football team. I think it starts right here. Give me the Bulldogs. Well, the Mississippi State Bulldogs, because they're both the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I guarantee the Bulldogs will win this game.
Ah.
Mississippi State comes in at 23.5-point favorites. I think Mike Leach is going to have the offense looking closer to what we expected when they hired him. But I think 24 points is just a lot, especially based on what we saw last season. So I like my Mississippi State to win by a few touchdowns, but not cover. I'm thinking probably 21 points sounds right.
I agree with you. I like Mississippi State to win, but I like Louisiana Tech to cover that spread. Central Michigan at Missouri. This is actually a more fun game than people think. I like Central Michigan under Jim McElwain. Jim McElwain, bad fit at Florida. Jim McElwain, also a good football coach. The two things can coexist at the same time. They look a lot better. He took over a Central Michigan team that was one of the worst in college football. And since he's been there, they look a heck of a lot better. I think they're not they hung around with Miami for a while, if you remember that. So I do think that this will be a little bit of a close game for a while. But, I was high on Missouri coming into the season. I could be proven wrong in this game, and somehow they get upset. But I really like this Missouri team this year. So give me Missouri to win and cover.
Yeah, listen, there's a thing about this Chippewas team. Jim McElwain, he returns almost all of the starters on offense and defense, so that's a huge bonus. And Jim McElwain is no stranger to beating Missouri, but there's a very distinct difference in a MAC football roster and an SEC football roster, and I think you're going to see that. I like Eli Drinkwitz. I think he's a good coach. I think it's going to be a pretty good game. I like the line exactly where it is. This is gross, but I'm calling a push in this one. I like Missouri by 13 points.
Okay. All right. I think that spread is fitting, though. I really do. I think that it'll be closer than a lot of people think because I think Central Michigan's a pretty good football team. Okay, I put this game on here so we can laugh at Walt Bell. UMass at Pitt, 4 o'clock, ACC Network. I think Pitt wins and wins big. If they don't, they're going to run Pat Narduzzi out of town. This UMass team is one of the worst in football, and they get Florida State this season, and that'll actually be a big win for Florida State, thank God. Give me Pitt to win and cover.
UMass scored 10 offensive points in 2020. They scored 12 points total because they did get a safety. What? Why did you put this on it? This is just to laugh at Walt Bell. Come on, man. That's mean. Pitt by a ton. Easy cover. They're 38-point favorites. I think they're going to win by 45. This is a good tune-up for Pitt as they get ready to go on the road to Tennessee.
Exactly. Hey, listen. I put this on here because, one, I want to laugh at Walt Bell, but also as a lesson to young coaches. You don't have to say yes to every job. You don't have to. You can turn jobs down. Just because they call and they want you to be a head coach, you can turn that job down. You should have turned the UMass job down and stayed at OC somewhere.
Yeah, I was going to say, he wouldn't have been the OC at FSU. I think that ship had sailed. He was out of there regardless, so.
Absolutely, but he could have been somewhere else being an OC, and he would have been under the learning tree somewhere learning. He would have been doing more productive things than he's doing right now at UMass, which is an almost impossible place to win football games. Even though, Mark Whipple kind of did some things there. Anyway, not the point. San Jose State at USC, 5 o'clock, Pac-12 Network, so no one will be able to watch it. But again, one of those Fresno State Oregon games where you're going to look at the bottom of the screen and say, this game's close. This game's a little closer than I think people would think. We both like San Jose State. I think I like them more than you do. I love their coach, Brent Brennan. Nick Starkel, a former SEC starting quarterback at Arkansas and Texas A&M. So I really like Nick Starkel and his ability. They looked better on offense last week. I know who they were playing. They looked better on offense last week than they did last year for sure. So they've got a dynamic offensive attack. Their defense is underrated. I like USC to win. I'm hesitant because I'm so down on Clay Helton, the football coach. I'm just so hesitant to get too high on USC. I like USC to win, but San Jose State to cover.
Interesting. So Nick Starkel, to me, he looked good, but this USC roster is just too good. I picked them to win the Pac-12, and I'm standing. And I picked San Jose State to take a step back from what they were last season. I'm standing by both of those right here. The spread's at 14 points. I like the Trojans to win and cover.
I mean, I could easily see them covered by 3. Like I could see a 17-point game, but I do. USC needs. Honestly, USC really should try to make a statement here if they can and blow the doors off of the San Jose State team if it's possible. I just don't think it's possible. By the way, it's going to be really funny because if this goes wrong for USC, their future head coach is probably on the other sideline.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, because I could definitely see USC looking Brent Brennan's way. Yeah. Dustin, real quick, let's go rapid fire for the evening slate first, and then we'll get into what I think are the 2 big games of the day, and then a third one because I know we have some Florida people watching, so we'll cover it real quick. Okay, Texas Tech, Houston, 7 o'clock, ESPN. They're playing this at the NERG, where the Houston Texans play. It's NRG Stadium, but it's the NERG. I am not down with Matt Wells at Texas Tech, my man. I think that's a bad fit. He's made some bad hires. They got rid of an air raid guy, and he brought in Sonny Cumbie as the coordinator. Now you have no identity. You don't know what you want to do. You don't know what you want to be. Their defense has improved incrementally over time, but I really think this Dana Holgorsen thing has been a disaster to this point, but he's been building something, building up to this moment, building up to this game. Give me the Cougars, Houston, to win this game. I love what Dana Holgorsen is doing. I'm high on Houston. I know. Every time I get high on Houston, they do some bull crap. I like Houston to win this game.
No, I'm just smiling because I thought that this might be where we disagree because, Texas Tech comes in 1.5-point favorites. And you mentioned it. Dana Holgorsen has not been great at Houston so far. But in this future conference game, that's right, Houston and UCF and
former conference game too, by the way.
Former Cincinnati and BYU are expected to submit applications to join the Big 12. We'll talk about that at a later date. But I think that Dana Holgorsen gets the Cougars right this season. Give me Houston to win outright.
Akron at Auburn, 7 o'clock. SEC Network Plus. Only put this on here because I kind of want to see if Auburn fans squirm in their seat. They have some off-field stuff that's highly preventable, by the way. Auburn, all these people have COVID on your staff, your team, whatever. This Akron team's bad, though. I like Auburn to win big on the Plains and cover. But this Auburn thing's looking a little – I could see it being a little interesting if we get the most Bo Nixiest Bo Nix possible when he comes out and he's not mobile and he throws the ball at people's feet and he throws interceptions. Could be uncomfortable for a little bit, but I like the Tigers to win here.
It's a 37-point spread. And listen, Bo Nix is going to look like 2019 Joe Burrow in this one. Give me the Tigers big.
Oh, Akron's awful. I mean, I like Auburn to cover that spread. I just think there's going to be some moments where you're going to be like, oh, no, what is happening here? But I like the hire of Brian Harsin. It's just a little bit of a weird fit so far, I think. I'm so sorry, Dustin. I have to do this to you.
Oh, here we go.
Syracuse at Ohio, 7 p.m., CBS Sports Network. No detailed notes. Give me the Bobcats, black uniforms, under the lights. Dino Babers, you're losing this game. I'm so mad that my man is not going to be here to see this. Give me the Bobcats, man.
Come on. First of all, I do love when Power 5 schools go on the road to Group of 5 schools. Do more of that. That's awesome. It's not going to go favorably for the Bobcats, though. Give me the orange. Give me my man Dino. Give me the orange by a touchdown.
Hey, every time I watch Ohio, I think of the big. I can't help but think of the big mistake that Nebraska made. That's all I'm gonna say. Jesus Christ, man! Happy
Our guy's not there anymore. Our guy Frank Solich isn't there anymore. So.
I say, hey, I'm sad that Frank Solich won't be there to watch them drub this Syracuse team. That's bad. They're bad. But Dino Babers is a good football coach. He'll land on his feet somewhere a little more fitting for him. I don't mean G5. I just mean geography-wise. Kind of that system they run feels more like a Texas high school offense. I'll I'll save that for a later date. But anyway, okay, Oregon State at Purdue. Fun little weird Pac-12 Big Ten matchup. I don't know what to make of this game because I want to pick Purdue to roll, but I really like what Oregon State, as far as the coaching staff, has done there. They've kind of gotten them from the drubs of college football to at least be respectable in places. Beat Oregon last year. That was something. Man, on the road at Purdue, I think that kind of makes the difference up. Night game. Give me the Boilermakers close.
Okay. I think that the Purdue offense is just too strong. It's a 7-point spread. Purdue is going to win and cover that.
Okay. Northern Illinois, Georgia Tech. Normally, 5-6 years ago, this game's close. It's good. I would think the Huskies are respectable. I don't like the Huskies under Rod Carey, though, who I thought would be a good fit. It has not worked out so far. Is this the year they kind of go back to normal? I don't know. But we both really like what Jeff Collins is doing at Georgia Tech. So give me Georgia Tech to win and cover.
Yeah, Georgia Tech comes in 18.5-point favorites. Jeff Sims, I think, is going to be much improved from what we saw last season. It's going to be more consistent. I don't think this game's ever really going to be in question, but I do like Northern Illinois to cover the 18.5, and I like Georgia Tech to win.
Okay. I only put this game on here so I can give my man Jimbo Fisher his flowers. I'm back on Jimbo's side, baby. 7:30, ESPNU, Kent State at Texas A&M. I will say this. Kent State won't show it in this game, but they're a good football team. It won't be because of this game, because I think Texas A&M rolls and wins big, because I think Jimbo Fisher needs to make a statement that he's a serious threat in the SEC West. Every game matters. Every point matters. I think they win and cover big. But this Kent State team is a good I think they're a good football team, man. Sean Lewis, the head coach, probably not going to be at Kent State in a year or two. He's going to be somewhere else. That Cincinnati job may come open in a little while here. But anyway, I like A&M big. Give me the Fighting Jimbos.
Well, first of all, this is a lot of SEC and MAC matchups that we've got in the first couple weeks of games here. Kent State, Texas A&M, you got Akron and Auburn, Tennessee, Bowling Green, Central Michigan, and Missouri. So I like that. Keep doing that. Jimbo's offense is going to make this one ugly. It's 29.5-point spread. That's not enough. Give me the Aggies big because I think they feel the pressure from Oxford, Mississippi coming for that number 2 spot in the SEC West. So Jimbo's got to come out and make a statement.
Well, as we do this show, Lane Kiffin tests positive for COVID-19. Literally live, a little breaking news. I thought I'd let you know. Since we're doing the show, you probably haven't seen it. Yeah.
Well, first of all, that sucks. Second of all, doesn't change a thing. Hotty toddy.
Okay. All right. Hotty toddy. Gosh almighty. Speaking of gosh almighty, big games at night here, Dustin. Okay. Let's start with the one that I don't think is as big, but since again our viewer base is kind of skewed towards the state of Florida. Florida Atlantic on the road at Florida, 7:30 SEC Network. Now look, I think Florida wins and covers. However, the Florida Atlantic defense is good. Number 24 nationally last year, highly ranked in a lot of categories. They return a lot of those players. It's the offense that I'm worried about. Last time I saw N'Kosi Perry, he wasn't any good at all. Now, I know that was Miami, but they are playing a Florida defense that I think needs to show and prove that they're not a sieve, that they're not Swiss cheese, that they can actually defend people. So I'm interested to see the matchups in this game. I'm pulling for Willie, man. I really am. I don't have anything against Willie Taggart. I think it was a bad fit, bad timing, everything else. He's got a pretty decent roster there in Boca, and he's gotten some guys that he recruited to Florida State to kind of transfer over. So there's that as well. He's got some pretty good athletes on that team. I think they could keep it interesting for a while. I think, Florida kind of breaking in a new system, a new quarterback. I like Emory Jones. I think Dan Mullen's more comfortable running his system with a mobile quarterback. So I think that'll be, a little bit of a better fit for what Mullen likes to do. Give me Florida to cover, but it wouldn't surprise me. Third quarter, this game's a little closer than we think, and then Florida kind of pulls away.
Yeah, first of all, I don't appreciate you picking this one as a detailed breakdown because you know how much I love the Owls. And it started before Willie Taggart was there. It started when Lane Kiffin was there.
Yeah, let's say so Lane was there. Yeah.
And so I'm sticking with them. I mean, that's still squad number 2 for me. But FAU does return a lot of offensive productivity, and they add N'Kosi Perry, quarterback. He's going to get the start. The biggest issue that Taggart had last season was he lost almost everyone in year 1. So when you
Every
consider
quarterback.
how much that team lost coming into last season, I think last year was a successful job by Taggart and staff at FAU. They also, on defense, they returned 13 of their top 14 tacklers. That's a lot of defensive productivity coming back. So a lot of guys that have some experience there. But Florida is still Florida. Dan Mullen, like you said, he utilizes mobile quarterbacks to their top potential. And I think that Emory Jones is going to be he's going to look good in this offense. 24.5-point spread favoring the Gators. I like Florida to cover that.
Yeah, me too. And I think it's a late cover. Like, I don't necessarily think that Florida pulls away so big early on where they cover that spread easily. I think it could be a late cover. But I like Florida to win that game. Again, first game of the season, kind of a weird spot. A Florida Atlantic team that'll be inspired to play. So I think that'll be interesting for a little bit. But again, Florida pulls away. Also, Florida, show me you can defend consistently. Show me. Okay? You got some transfers in on the defensive line. It's Todd Grantham's time to he's not a bad coordinator. He gets weird on third down. I don't know what that's about. But he's got a chance to kind of show and prove that that defense is for real. I think up front they're solid. It's the back end, even though they've recruited well, that I worried about. Okay. LSU at UCLA. This is 8:30 kick. Fox. They're not at full capacity there in the Rose Bowl. So this game will be a little bit of a weird fit. Again, LSU's been displaced because of Hurricane Ida. They've been in Houston for the last week or so. And then they went out to LA a couple days ago and got comfortable there. Ed O's return to Los Angeles since his stint at USC. That's a little bit of a fun storyline there. Look, we talked about UCLA in the opening of the show. I need to see more from Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I love their running attack, both running backs. Offensive line looks like it wants to maul people. I just think it's going to be really hard for them to maul people out of the SEC. Now, 9 times out of 10, when you get an SEC, a good SEC program versus another Power 5 program, 9 times out of 10, I'm willing to take the SEC team if I have some question marks because I think the trenches is where those teams win those games. I know there's some question marks on the LSU defense. They get some people back healthy. They're big up front. Here's a chance. And the biggest plus for LSU is they no longer employ Bo Pelini to call the defense. That's a stupid hire. I like the hire they made. I think, and by the way, Max Johnson, quarterback, LSU, at the end of last year, he's the guy. He's the guy for the job. They got the Florida win under their belt. They looked better at the end of last year. I actually think this LSU team is coming for people's heads this year. I think that's kind of a secret where everyone's a little down on Ed O, which I understand. Everyone's down on LSU. I think this LSU team is going to be better than people think. And it's not a knock against this UCLA team. I think Chip's got to go in the right direction. I just don't think this is the game for them, baby. Give me the Tigers to win it. Definitely cover. That spread keeps coming down. I'm like, all right. If you can get in on that action, get in on that action.
Yeah, when I did my notes, I saw LSU at -3. And, yeah, Max Johnson's going to lead that Tiger offense that is out to prove something. They have a lot of talent on offense. Last season was a disastrous run, especially coming off the national championship where people are arguing that you may be the best team of all time. You had a lot of off-the-field crap distractions on top of the COVID pandemic that just caused havoc for everyone. So I think they're going to be out to prove something. Derek Stingley Jr., I think, is the best cornerback in the country.
Absolutely.
And that does not bode well for Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who did not look good last week, like we said. So when he's expected to bounce back and show what he can be, it's just a tough task to follow that Hawaii team up or performance up with facing Stingley in that Tiger secondary. I think it's going to be a pretty good first half, but I expect LSU to pull away in the second and win by a couple scores.
And that's the thing. I actually don't think this UCLA team is bad as we talked about in our season preview.
Right.
I think they got a shot to compete for the Pac-12 South. I just think this isn't the matchup for them. This is not what they want to see in week 2.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the big game of the day. I've been thinking about this game for a week now, man. Like just the matchups, what's going to go into this game. Obviously, we're talking about Clemson and Georgia, neutral site game. Duke's Mayo, best Mayo ever. Duke's Mayo kickoff classic there in Charlotte. 7:30 ABC. This game is big. Don't you disparage Mayo on this show, dang it.
The best Mayo is the Mayo that doesn't come anywhere near my food. So that's
fine. You can feel that way and be wrong. Look, 7:30 ABC. Charlotte, this game is big time, man. It's going to have a big time feel. It's 3.5 hours from Athens and 2.5 hours from Clemson, so not a long drive for everyone to come watch that game. I think the stadium will be packed, split pretty evenly down the middle. Obviously, ESPN will have their big crew on it, so Kirk and Chris and all those guys. It's going to feel very big. It's going to feel like college football is supposed to feel. I think this is a great football game. I'm so glad we get this in week 1, man. I love both of these teams. I think they're both really good. They're both in the top 4 or 5 as far as terms of talent go. If you look at the 247 composite rankings, how that, returning talent things go. Georgia has more 5 stars technically on the roster than any other team in the country. I think that shows up here. If this is not the year for Georgia, when is the year? They've got as many talented football players as anyone else in the country. This is the year you've got to actually put that to use. I love their offense at the end of last year under JT Daniels. I don't think he's a star or a stud, but he was definitely better than anything else they threw out there last year. I think he's really consistent. I like what they went 4-0 as soon as he became the quarterback, got a big win against a good Cincinnati team in the bowl. This is a time for Georgia to kind of show up and thump their chest a little bit. They've recruited well. They've done all the right things. Now's the time. This is the year. If it's not, I don't know what to tell you as a Georgia fan. I really don't. Matchups that I love, Dustin, I love that Georgia defensive line against that Clemson offensive line. That's going to be a tough day for Clemson's offensive line. I think as far as the trenches go, the Clemson offensive line is the one weak point in this game. Obviously, there's questions about Georgia's health along the offensive line. There's some issues there that they're not really discussing. I don't know what that's about. So maybe we don't get the full starters there. I don't know. But I'm not 100% sure that it matters because I think they'll be grounding and pounding, and I think it's going to be a tough day. Now, Clemson defensive line, probably the best in the country, hands down. I mean, I think you can look across the board and see 4 or 5 NFL starters on that defense right now. But I love Brian Bresee. And here's the fun fact before I let you go and I pick a winner. Darion Kendrick used to play for Clemson, starter on Clemson's defense, now starter on Georgia's defense. Yeah. That's a lot of fun. That's interesting. Dabo, that eats at him. That's not something he's a big fan of at all when you leave the program. So I like Georgia. This is DJU's first full season as a starter. Give me the Dogs. I think it's a great game. I think it lives up to the hype. I picked Georgia to win the SEC East. Now, both of these teams can afford to lose this game, Dustin, because they can win the rest of the games and be right back where they want to be. But I think it's a good litmus test for what we're going to see going forward from both programs. Again, if this is not the year for Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs, when is it? Give me the Dogs.
So yeah, you mentioned they both can lose this game and still make the playoffs, but Georgia has a much more difficult task if they want to make that the case. So you're right. This is a big game for Kirby to prove it. The thing is, though, Clemson loses Trevor Lawrence, but DJ Uiagalelei is going to pick up right where he left off. Nailed that pronunciation.
I think he did. I have no idea.
The Tigers' defense is loaded, like you said. They've got NFL talent at every position. You mentioned the defensive line. I like the defensive secondary. I think that group is the best defensive secondary in the country. They get Justin Ross back healthy on offense, which is a huge plus, and a huge shout out to him because that was so tough to watch. Being one of the best players in college football, not just best receivers, best players in college football, have such a scary moment where we didn't know if he was going to live a normal life after it, let alone play again. So that's huge to get him back. Georgia's defense is ridiculously talented, and JT Daniels, he does have some Heisman buzz. It's there. Yeah. He may not the front runner by no means, but I have seen some outlets pick him to win the Heisman, which is a huge bonus for Kirby to have that. I don't see it happening either, what do I know? My Heisman winner looked like crap last night against Virginia Tech. Yeah, but this game, it's going to have a national title feel to it. The electricity is going to be there. It's going to be buzzing, and it does have serious playoff implications attached to the game because, like you said, they both can still make it if they lose. Clemson's path is much easier if they want to do that. Georgia has a tough task if they want to lose this game, keep going. But here's the thing. I don't trust Georgia until they prove me wrong.
Yeah.
I won't doubt Clemson until they prove me wrong. So it's Clemson until it ain't. Spreads 3 points. Give me Tigers by a touchdown.
Here's the thing. I'm going against my own gut instinct with this. because I actually think this Georgia team is really good. You know me. I said it when we talked about Bama Miami. Give me the proven commodity until it's not a proven commodity anymore. And that's normally my strategy. I waver back and forth because I really think highly of this Georgia team. I'm picking them to win because they have to make a statement at some point. Otherwise, this is all for nothing. Firing Mark Richt was for nothing. Hiring Kirby Smart was for nothing. Like, you got to at some point. And now, look, I think some of that gets a little overblown, Dustin, because it's not like they didn't win the SEC. They didn't go to the national championship game and almost win that game. They were on the doorstep, and they went to another SEC championship game. So, again, it's not like they haven't done anything under Kirby. Mm-hmm. But the expectations this season is national title or bust. And if you really want to prove yourself, this is the game to do it in. I mean, I'm with you. It's really hard to pick against Clemson in these spots, but I just think that the Georgia defense is the difference maker. You said Justin Ross and DJU. I love that tandem. I think they're good. But they're replacing running back and offensive line is a little shaky. Relatively speaking, of course, Florida State fans would love to have Clemson's offensive line, but I can talk about this game all day because the matchups are so fun. It's really going to be, I hope anyway, a really good football game. All right, Dustin, let's move into the late window and then Sunday, Monday. Not many games left here. I put this on detailed breakdown between Arizona and BYU. I went to do my notes. Not a lot to say, to be honest. Here's why. BYU pretty big because as much as I like Jedd Fisch, the coach, it's hard to win in Tucson, man. It's really hard. And they were not good last year under someone. We like Kevin Sumlin. Bad fit. Didn't work. Jedd Fisch, an NFL guy. I get the hire. You're trying to go a little bit different, be in a different direction. He's bringing in former NFL players, former Patriots players to kind of, be on the sidelines and stuff. I get the doing there. Now, BYU does lose Zach Wilson, so I'm interested to see what they do on offense. I just think you have a pretty average team going against what I think is grown men literally because BYU's players are all old. So in that case, I'm going to take the experience proven commodity and I'm going to take BYU. I think BYU wins pretty comfortably. Las Vegas, by the way, 10:30 on ESPN. This game's at Allegiant Stadium where the Raiders play.
Yeah, BYU comes in 12.5-point favorites. I do like Jedd Fisch bringing in Don Brown to coach the defense, brought him over from Michigan. That was a good grab to steal him away because he's been at Michigan for so long. I wanted Don Brown to be at Florida State. I'll just be honest with you. I wanted him to come to FSU when I heard the rumblings he might be available. So that's a good get to coach the defense, but there's just going to be some growing pains there. BYU was great last season. They did lose Zach Wilson, but that offense is going to be just fine. 12.5 points is about right. I like BYU to win by a couple touchdowns, so I'll take the Cougars to cover.
Here's some fun Mountain West Pac-12 matchups. Obviously these are the after dark specials that you get. A game full of two teams I'm high on and one team that I know you're pretty high on. Nevada at California. This is 10:30 kick, FS1. We really love Jay Norvell, both of us. Can you name the offensive coordinator at Nevada?
I feel like I should know it.
No, you're going to be blown away when I tell you.
Okay, go ahead.
Hal Mummy's son, Matt Mummy. And maybe grandson, one of those. Either way, offensive coordinator. We both love this Nevada team. They're fun to watch on offense. They get after it on defense too. If Cal had a semblance of an offense under Justin Wilcox, Dustin, if you put Justin Wilcox defense at Cal with Ole Miss's offense under Lincoln, if that were the program, you'd have a really, really fun and great football team. Normally in these situations, I pick the Power 5 team, especially at home. A team I'm high on as far as defense goes, I think they're a little bit better than people think, but I have a hard time picking against this Nevada team, man. Give me the Wolfpack.
Yeah, so this game, Cal's 3-point favorites coming in. This team does feature two great quarterbacks. Tune in to watch the quarterback play in this one. You're going to see a couple studs. And even though Nevada has the better quarterback, Carson Strong is stud.
Yep.
Cal's defense is stout.
It's nasty good.
So I like Cal to win and cover.
Okay. Honestly, part of me just wants to see chaos after dark. If I'm going to stay up and watch the game, I want to see the Group of 5 team win the game. That's just how that goes. Here is a matchup of two teams going the wrong direction to me. Two programs going the wrong way. Utah. Now, I do like Utah State going and hiring Gary Anderson from Arkansas State. Good hire, good fit. Utah State on the road at Wazoo, 10:30. Pac-12 Network, so none of you will watch it. But let's pick it real quick. We loved Nick Rolovich. We don't so much love Nick Rolovich anymore. I don't know what he's doing there, but the players believe in him supposedly. Utah State's in a little bit of a rebuild, especially under a new coach. I like the Cougars to win the game and cover.
Yeah, Washington State comes in 17-point favorites. Nick Rolovich is going to trot out both quarterbacks, Jarrett Garantano and Jaden DeLaura, who I mentioned last week. Jaden DeLaura is a good young quarterback. Jarrett Garantano's got a lot of experience at Tennessee in the SEC, so he's got a lot of experience to bring to the table. We're going to get to see them both in this matchup. I think that Washington State should win pretty easily. I like them to cover the 17.
All right, two more games, Dustin. Let's get to it. A game that you and I will both be at tomorrow, 7:30, ABC, Notre Dame at Florida State. This game's going to have another big-time feel. Obviously not as big-time because Florida State is down, but it's going to be a big-time feel, man. It's a night game, Doak Campbell Stadium. They're honoring Bobby Bowden, who passed last month. So that's going to be an emotion that weighs within the crowd, and I think the team as well. That's going to be on their minds. Look, this Notre Dame team beat Florida State pretty bad last year. Now, in that game, Florida State showed some flashes, especially on offense, definitely not defense, but they showed some flashes on offense that they can go and score against Notre Dame. The question of who's starting at quarterback is still up in the air. They haven't named an official starter. I think me and you both think it's going to be Jordan Travis. I'm fine with that. If he's improved throwing the ball down the field, I like Jordan Travis' skill set. He's hard to defend sometimes. He's a little bit of a Swiss Army knife. So I like that offensive line. The best it's been in 4 or 5 years. And it's not good, but it's the best it's been in 4 or 5. It at least has consistent returning starters. I don't know what that means against Notre Dame's front, who I think is really good, especially under new coordinator Marcus Freeman, who comes over from Cincinnati. Look, man, this game to me all lies on Florida State's defense. Because I think Florida State will score points. I really do. I think there's a good chance they'll score some points. Can they stop Notre Dame? And then load the box, stop the run. Jack Cohn is a statue at quarterback, transfer from Wisconsin. But they may not ask him to do a whole lot because they may not need him to do a whole lot. Can the Florida State defense under Adam Fuller show up and show that they're actually being coordinated, that they're being coached? I have big question marks about that. I love Florida State secondary. Linebackers are, they're a little suspect. I like the starting four for Florida State defensive line, but the depth is a little bit of a question mark. All that being said, I like Notre Dame's physicality in the trenches a little too much. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. You want to be wrong. We all want to be wrong. But I'm going to take Notre Dame to win and cover. I like Notre Dame by 10.
Yeah, this line, it's been changing a little bit as well. But
Yeah.
when I last saw the line, it was 7.5 points. Thing is, like you said, FSU hasn't officially named a starting quarterback. I think Norvell said we should know about 15 minutes before kickoff. I like him keeping it close to the chest. However, I don't think it's that much of a secret. Jordan Travis has looked great in fall camp, and I think that he brings a dynamic that you're going to need against the Notre Dame defense. He's slippery. He can get away. He can make things happen outside the pocket. McKenzie Milton just simply can't do that, especially on 1.5 legs.
Right.
I do think McKenzie Milton will give us a good chance to win at some less talented defenses, though.
Yeah.
Because his what he has between his ears, he's got a great mind. He's got great vision. He's got a great arm. But,
and I think we'll see him in this game. Like, I think both will play in this game.
I agree. Thing is, Jack Cohn, you mentioned he's a statue in the pocket, but he's also a pretty formidable quarterback. 2019 at Wisconsin, he threw for almost 2,800 yards, 18 touchdowns. He's serviceable. You can throw him out there. And I really like Kyron Williams for Notre Dame.
So
the biggest detriment that Florida State will face is having Adam Fuller as the defense coordinator. Yeah. Don't believe in him at all. I think that he's the worst defense coordinator we've had in quite some time, and that's saying something because we have had some bad ones over the past decade. FSU's best players in this game may very well be guys that we got via the transfer portal.
I think so.
Jermaine Johnson, I look for him to create some havoc in the backfield for Jack
Thomas.
Cohn, Keir Thomas, and I really like Andrew Parchment on offense for FSU. But that being said, this is not a matchup that I like. I'm going to be there, and we're going to be having fun. It's going to be great to see you. It's going to be great to see our friends down in Tallahassee. But I just think that this is a tough task to ask to start the season. I would have rather have had Jacksonville State to start the season than play Notre Dame.
Then Notre Dame. Yes,
and then Notre Dame. It's just tough to not have a warm-up game before that. But that's okay. We'll take these lumps and grow from it. The climb starts at the bottom. So give me Notre Dame by about 14.
And that makes sense. I'll say this. If you're looking for a bright spot as a Florida State fan, and you don't want two Florida State fans being negative or just being real, however you want to view it, there is emotion around this game. Sometimes in the college game, emotions can carry kids. We call them kids because they're in can carry a young player. That stuff doesn't mean anything in the NFL. In the college game, atmosphere, emotion can carry a team. Now, momentum is not quantifiable. You can't do anything with it. But emotion can definitely carry a team to a close game or a win even. So I think just given everything that's gone on around this program, on the field and off the field, especially with the passing of a legendary coach, Bobby Bowden, which they'll be honoring in really cool ways. I love what they're doing there. It would not shock me if this game was really close in the fourth quarter and something happened to where Notre Dame pulls away. That would not shock me. But like you said, I need to see something from Adam Ford to make me actually believe that, okay? And right now, I just haven't seen it. Could they come out and Adam Ford looks like freaking Bill Belichick? Probably not, but could it happen? Sure. But until it happens, I just can't pick Florida State to win this game because I don't know if they can stop Notre Dame from scoring. So that's pretty much where I'm at with that. If you want to go ahead, we got one more game. I don't think your man's going to be on the sideline, Dustin, since he tested positive for COVID, but I'm not sure that makes a difference. I'll get into that in a second. Louisville, Ole Miss. This is the second Chick-fil-A kickoff game of the weekend. This is in Atlanta, neutral site, ACC, SEC. I'm not high on this Louisville team under Satterfield. The administration doesn't want him there. He doesn't want to be there. I know they embarrassed Florida State last year, but they weren't good last year. That shows you how bad that Florida State team was. I don't think highly of this Louisville team. Malik Cunningham comes back. Listen, everyone says, if he can just be the Malik Cunningham of old. Well, when that's part of the equation, that's not a good thing. That means he hasn't progressed. He's regressed. And I don't think Malik Cunningham's all that good. Now, he can come out and show me something different, but I just don't like the offense and what they're trying to do. It's a weird fit there at Louisville. Ole Miss, as far as offensively, proven commodity, need to see something on defense. That defense is Swiss cheese under Durkin. I think they're going to remain a little bit of a Swiss cheese, but I like them more than I do Louisville. High-scoring game, I think anyway. A really kind of fast, high-scoring game. This game's going to last forever because no one's going to milk the clock. Big chunk plays, I expect out of both teams. I like Ole Miss to win. I think that offense is too good. With or without Lane there, I think they'll be fine with Matt Corral as a quarterback. So give me the Rebels.
Yeah, Ole Miss is 10-point favorites. And listen, this game might feature about 500,000 points in it. The over-under is set at 76. We haven't talked over-unders on this show yet. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, take the over. You're going to see some points in this game. I could see this game being something like a 55-42 final. That Ole Miss offense, with or without Lane on the sideline, I think that they know what they have to do. You don't spend months preparing for one game to not, suddenly forget what your game plan is just because the head coach gets COVID. I wish him a speedy recovery. Lord knows I love Lane Kiffin. The thing is, the difference maker is I do think this Ole Miss defense is going to be improved this season. Now,
I hope you're right.
Granted, in the Outback Bowl when they played Indiana, it was a different offense, like we mentioned. Michael Penix was down, so it just wasn't the same. But they held them to 20 points, and they looked pretty good doing it. Matty Corral, I mentioned it. He's going to be in the Heisman race for a good chunk of the season. I truly believe that. They're going to put up points like crazy. Malik Cunningham, like you mentioned, it feels like he's been there for forever. But is he gonna be the Malik Cunningham we saw glimpses of, or has that ship sailed? I think they should go with the youth movement personally. It's gonna be it might be the funnest game of the whole weekend. If you're just a guy that or a fan that loves to watch
if you love the Big
offensive
12,
outpoints,
watch this game.
yes, these are two teams that would fit in beautifully in the Big 12. Like I said, I expect Ole Miss to cover and somewhere around the 55 to 42 range. I do think Louisville's going to get their points. It's just Ole Miss is going to have more points to throw around.
I also think this is Scott Satterfield's last opener as Louisville head coach. I think something will come open and he'll find greener pastures. And so maybe Braun takes the job this time. Who knows? Anyway, look, man, had a lot of fun breaking this down. We went an hour and a half, a little longer than I thought. But, hey, opening weekend is what it is. Next time we're doing this, we're only doing Saturday games. So, slate gets a little leaner and leaner sometimes throughout the season. Had a great time doing this, Dustin. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I'm just excited to go sit on the couch and be useless for a few hours.
Me too. Hope you had some bologna. I'm about in an hour and 15 minutes. I'll be opening a cold beer, and it's going to be awesome. I'm going to go have some food myself. Dustin, really enjoyed doing this. Thanks for everyone that watched along with us throughout the show. I think we might have had some technical issues at some point. Try to get that fixed next week. But until then, that's Dustin Franklin. I'm Mike Setta. We'll catch you next time on Lateral Live, 9:15 Saturday morning. Next Saturday. Don't forget. We'll see you then.